Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. We are in that moment now where people are so confused. And when I'm referring to people, I'm talking about industry insiders. I'm talking about the pros on Wall Street. They don't know which way is up. That is when you know everything's coming down. When the confusion is at its most. And we have a lot of news to go over today. And then right after this, I'm going to go live on the Real Estate Ninja channel with banking news. A bank that I told you hasn't collapsed yet, but I believe it's coming pretty soon. We're going to see more intense news in 2 weeks, the first week of October. But right now, the banks, you've got Jamie Dimon and other CEOs, like the CEO of Marathon, just came out and says, don't buy the banks, don't buy the banks. They know what's going on with the banks. They know how toxic this CMBS, commercial mortgage-backed securities, is. They referred to that on CNBC just the other day. We are seeing things like banks coming out, like Bank of America coming out and saying, hey, you know what? We think we're seeing deflation now. But that's not the deflation that you want and that you're thinking about. You're thinking about the price of electricity and food. They're referring to everything coming apart. And we're going to start with the first story about the rental market. This is out of Fortune magazine. This is exactly what I was referring to a year ago when I said, start getting ready for this housing crash. Because these are the signs. But the problem is, if people don't get ready ahead of time, you get caught up in the day-to-day minutia of life. Plus, you get caught up in inflation and you don't have the money or the wherewithal to be able to deal with the coming opportunities. Real quick, before I start reading the story, my father used to say this all the time, calm down, calm down. There's a deal every day. Because I was always going out and grabbing opportunities. It was like I couldn't stop. I couldn't help myself. And I told my dad, I said, then I want every deal. I want every opportunity. There are a lot of people that just sit on the sidelines and they just let life happen, let life go by. They may feel really comfortable. I'm not one of those people. I want to be successful. I grew up being told constantly by people in my life that I wasn't going to be successful if I didn't do this, or this, if I didn't get a good job, go to college and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I spent a lot of my time, I guess it was the best motivation ever, proving them wrong. And that's not to bag on the people, because they're only telling me things out of the knowledge that they understood and knew. Type 1, if you understand that, you've been told by people that you're not going to be a success. But you said, all right, you had a choice to make at that point. Either I'm going to defy their words, their bad words against me, or I'm going to let them be a part of me and take that on. And I think that that's just how we've got to act. All right, here we go. This is the story out of Fortune magazine. The rental market is softening so fast in some pockets of the country that landlords have no choice but to offer concessions. With vacancies on the rise, some landlords are doling out one-time discounts to attract renters while maintaining high asking rents on paper. Interesting, huh? Well, the only reason they'd want to do that is because a lot of landlords think this is a fluke. It's just a seasonality issue. So let's give you your first month's rent, but then your rent going forward is X, so that it can try and maintain that high rental amount. Well, here's the thing. This is exactly akin to what happened in 2006. Landlords and homeowners had zero clue what was going on in the market. They did not have that 50,000 foot view of the economy as a whole, and they would brush it off to seasonality. And they're about to get a very rude awakening. Now, for you, you're going to see this story as I talk about it and put it into context with the real economy, and you're going to say, oh, no, the housing market is in trouble. As a matter of fact, remember, we have a housing shortage, but that's impossible. With stories like this, it's impossible, because if you had a housing shortage, that would mean all the homes are full. All right? This is crazy. I'll put down a few. There's a handful each day of those $250 links for the real estate crash course. If you want to get ready now, cool. The price is going up next week. And if it doesn't say $250, then the links are done for the day, okay? I'll put those down in the description below. Now, it says here, it looks like home builders aren't the only ones offering incentives in this housing market. So you've got home builders, and now you've got landlords. So that means everything's coming apart. And when it starts to really race down, then the next phase is everyone's scared to jump in. So it exacerbates that problem, okay, to the downside. Now, we're not going to see that downside till 2024, but all the evidence is happening right now in 2023. So if you're not getting ready for it, well, then I don't know what to tell you, because we're all going to be buying houses like crazy when this happens. Even though the median asking rent is at near record highs, according to Redfin, last month the median U.S. asking rent was $2,052, which is just $2 below the record high set a year earlier. So, and it's up slightly from the previous month's $2,038. Still, landlords are finding a way to attract renters, whether that's a one-time discount or a few months of free rent per Redfin. So you see what they're doing is they're trying to keep up the illusion. And this is exactly akin to what certain vehicle manufacturers did right after COVID was done, and they went to their companies. I talked to a GM owner once, and he says, yeah, we got a phone call from the big corporate offices and said, hey, how's everybody, this is how the call started. How's everybody liking these higher prices? You know, when you're able to ask $20,000 for a car over sticker. And they're like, this is pretty sweet. They're like, yeah, it sucks, you know, there's less cars, but you like that, right? They said, yeah. And they said, okay, that's what we're thinking of doing. We think we're going to keep that up. We're going to actually throttle back inventory. And I got a phone call from this GM dealer, or sorry, it was a Chevy dealer. And he's like, I can't believe this is happening. And I said, you know, this is going to be their downfall. So what they did is they throttled back. They've got less labor. They're making less cars. And now they're going, oh, crap. Some of these companies are going, like, think about Toyota. Think about Honda, Kia. They still cannot get their supply chain right. Or are they doing this on purpose? You got to ask yourself. But that always leads to a downfall. Because what they are failing to understand, exactly like these landlords, and I actually teach a lesson in the course specifically on this because of something I did with my first rental back in 2001. They're not seeing the big picture, and they're going to lose because nobody can pay the high rents. Nobody can pay the high car payments. All right. So it says here, while asking rents are at near all-time highs, tenants in some parts of the country are finding deals. Redfin's data journalist Lily Katz wrote in a report published last week, with vacancies on the rise, some landlords are doling out one-time discounts to attract renters while maintaining high asking rents. She later added that because of this, rents are effectively coming down in some areas, but those declines won't show up in asking rent data. This is exactly what's going on in housing data right now, because all the housing data, the census data, it comes out like once a year. They're not able to capture all of these 2024 will be brilliant. Grandma, thank you so much for the super chat. Check this out. Parker Park in Ohio, she's saying, is running a resident rent challenge, giving monthly discounts to folks on social media to say how great it is to live out there. Hundreds of dollars off rent. That is awesome. How do I screenshot this? I don't think I could do it to live stream. Somebody remind me. I don't know is there any moderators in the thing? Remind me of that. I'm going to go look into that, because that alone, they're asking for free advertising, or they're taking off some rent just to prove, please come live here. What does that tell you? They are having a hard time making it. Okay. This is the first phase. It's actually the second phase that I talk about in the class of the housing crisis. And once you see these phases happening, just like I teach you, you're like, oh my gosh, this is easy. So now I'm going to keep saving. I'm going to keep getting ready. And then when we go, okay, now it's time. This is how you're going to pick up your mortgages. This is how you're going to identify your houses. That's a whole new section. And by the way, there are 8 new videos coming out next week for the real estate crash course. So everybody that's got it, you won't get a nil update. I'm just letting you know. So, okay, that's enough for that story. I don't want to beat that one up. Okay. So rent's coming down. They're asking for all kinds of stuff. They're hurting. All right, this next story about this bank that I've been warning about, I've only warned twice about it, but it's going to go down. That's going to go on the Real Estate Ninja channel right after this video. I've got 2 big banking stories. All right, let's see here. Oh, we got to get past that one. All right, let's go to this. CMBS loans. A CMBS loan on Philly Class B office property seals a 30-month extension. Why would it be able to seal a 30-month extension? It's because it can't pay. Here, hold on real quick. I'm going to answer this super chat from RJ. Is there any scenario where the Fed and Congress does not bail out banks from 1 trillion in credit card defaults and 1.6 trillion in loans, 1.6 trillion in student debt, and 12 trillion in mortgages? All right, here's the deal. I'm going to say this real quick. I was really listening. See, okay. How do I say this right? For everybody that doesn't know me, I believe in Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I thank God that sent his only son to die for my sins. And at one point in my life when everything was going wrong, this is a real quick synopsis. I told the Lord, I said, I'm gonna give you 6 months. I got on my knees and I said, I'm gonna believe everything in the Bible as it's 100% truth. One thing in the Bible is it talked about watchmen and prophets. And you can go anywhere in the church, and trust me, there's nowhere you could get offended easier than going to church. Trust me. No, you go to anybody in church and go, hey, tell me about 5 false prophets, and they'll just rattle off a bunch of names. Okay, tell me about one true prophet. They can't even tell you. So I started diving into it, and prophets were going crazy, warning everybody about what was coming with a worldwide pandemic and inflation and hyperinflation, all these crazy things back in around 2012 to 2015. I met one of them and I studied a ton of them. Since then, like 80% of the prophecies have come to pass. One of them, one prophet, he has now passed away. His name's John Paul Jackson. If you want to go Google John Paul Jackson and the prophetic headlines, go read them. Your mouth will drop because, like, holy cow, like a third of those have already come true, or half of them. One of those was that it was really exciting. It's on video form, but the President Trump was going to negotiate the collapse of America with the banks. And I believe that this crash is going to be so bad that it is going to take a great negotiator to negotiate these. So I do not believe there is a bailout coming. There's a bail in. And so I've talked about that a lot. I don't want to get real, deep in the weeds with that right now. Maybe I'll do a video on it a little bit later. And I'll maybe, if I got the time, I'll get all those clips of the prophecies. Okay. Because the church is very confused. They're like, oh, false prophet. They don't even know how prophecy works and how watchmen work. All right. So here we go. Sorry, I digress. If that helped you, or if you want to hear more about that, type 3, and then I'll see where we're at. Okay, so CMBS loan on Philly Class B office property seals a 30-month extension. The reason why is because they couldn't pay. They got an extension. They got to extend their terms for their commercial property. Now, remember, I want you to think about this. When you're thinking commercial property, sure, you could think of a Kmart building or a Montgomery Ward. Oh, those are gone. Or Sears. Oh, that's gone. I mean, all those are gone. But don't just think grocery stores. I want you to think huge apartment complexes. All right. All right. So it says if you're an owner of a Class B office with a pending loan maturity, now this one right here is Class B office. I get that, but I'm overall we're talking massive apartment buildings. But if you're the owner of a Class B office with a pending loan maturity, chances are you're not sleeping amazingly well right now. But this is some positive news. This story goes into how they got an extension because everyone's in trouble. All commercial mortgages are in trouble. You can't find one that's not in trouble right now unless somebody just took out a commercial mortgage at these high rates. All right, check this out. And again, if that link below, the 75% off link, doesn't show $250 for the course, don't buy it. There'll be some more links that come out tomorrow. The 30-year mortgage rates jump by double digits. All right. Remember, there's a lot of people out there saying that real estate's not going to crash. It's just going to keep going up. That is not true. Holy cow. Rates on 30-year mortgages continue to yo-yo after spiking to a 22-year high. 22-year high. We keep going backwards. We are now sitting right at after the dot-com crash. Think about where we're at right now. When you look back into history, remember, the farther you look back into history equals the